Hey everyone, and welcome to Hooked on Needles and Crafts. Today we're going to be continuing part 2 of this video series, making Santa Stitch from a kit that I've got from Five Below. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, we are going to be doing part 2 of this video series. We are doing Santa Stitch. It's a crochet kit that I got from Five Below. If you'd like to make this kit, I highly recommend you go to your Five Below or on their website and get this kit. This video is only a supplement to the kit. I don't share instructions or any details, but I do go over new stitches at least 3 times, step by step. And then I also explain how to read the instructions, and if there's anything weird or some typos or errors, I'll mention that. And then of course we come in and we assemble it together. Okay, so let's get started. We don't need this head right now, so we're going to set this aside. We are going to use the red, so get your red out. The spools, it's fuzzy yarn and the spools are wrapped all the same, so there's no best way to use them without getting tangles, unless you unreel the whole thing and spool it up yourself. I'm not doing that. Alright, so let's start with the body. We're going to be doing a magic ring, so let me show you how to do that. You're going to take your finger and wrap the yarn 3 times around your finger with a little bit of overage, so that you can take your middle finger and hold it right on top. You can take this opportunity to straighten out your threads, tighten them up or loosen them up as you need. And we're going to take the crochet hook and stick it underneath the 3 strands. Alright, before I continue, I always forget. Click on the gear button in the corner. There's playback options to go fast or slow. If you don't need to hear me talk, lower the volume on your device and click on the CC closed caption button. Alright, so we're going to pull this back. We're going to hook it. We're going to twist our hook sideways and we're going to slip that strand underneath these 2 right here. Then we're going to yarn over the hook. So we're going to take this feeder yarn and put it over the hook like that. Then we're going to pull the strand through the loop. Oops. And then you're going to let go of your middle finger and remove the loops off your index. Alright, so we're going to hold it like this. We've got our excess piece sticking out to the right, loops in the middle, and feeder yarn to the left. Alright, so now we're going to do our single crochet stitches. Let me show you how to do 3 of these. I'm going to underhand my hook like this. This is going to alleviate any tension in your hands when you do your stitching, which in turn is going to make your stitches not tight, which, you know, is ideal because for this particular part, we're going to be slipping yarn inside the stitches, and if your stitches are too tight, it's going to be really hard for you to do. So let's start with the single crochet stitch. Put your hook into the loops. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull up a loop. So there's 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So looking at it in the front, we have our first single crochet stitch. We have a loop in the front, a loop in the back. If we look on top, it looks like a little braid. Alright, so let's do another one. Stick your hook into the loops. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, so 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over again and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So now we have 2 single crochet stitches. We have a loop in the front, a loop in the back, and then if we turn it on its top, you can see that it still looks like a braid. Okay, let's do one more, you guys. Stick your hook into the loops. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So now we have 3 single crochet stitches. We have a loop in the front, a loop in the back, turn it on its top, and we see a longer braid. Alright, so now that I've done this 3 times, you can rewind this part of the video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing a single crochet stitch by yourself. But now I'm going to go and finish the rest of the single crochet stitches for round 1. And then we're going to come back in and I'm going to show you how to close the magic ring. And they call it the magic ring because it starts out very open and we end up closing it. So take your hand, I'm going to overhand the hook like this. I'm going to let go of my feeder yarn. I'm going to take my thumb and index and just hold the bottom of the stitches right here. And you don't want to hold it tight because then you won't be able to pull the yarn. But I also am going to take the feeder yarn and just use my middle finger and hold it out of the way. So now we're just focused on this excess piece and these two loops. What we're going to do is pull this excess piece, and you want to find out which loop is going to go inside the loop first. Once you've seen the loop move, you can stop pulling. So I'm going to pull this, and then I see that this loop here is moving first. So what we want to do is take this end out of that loop out, because we're going to make this loop disappear. So take that loop that went in, pull out this side, and start pulling. And then you're going to see that other loop start to go inside the ring, like that. And I want you to keep pulling until that loop is completely gone inside the ring. Okay. So now we have to deal with this piece. So just take your excess piece here and we're just going to pull on that until the other loop is gone as well. To make sure that there's no holes in this magic ring, you're going to hold the excess piece in the opposite direction and a little up, and you're going to just pull. You're going to feel a little give, but you don't have to pull it too hard. You don't have to keep pulling. Just pull enough that you're going to feel a little give, and that's going to actually close your magic ring completely. So from here, what I'm going to do is take a stitch marker. These are not included in your kit, but these are needed for almost every project you're going to do in the future. So I would recommend investing into some of these stitch markers. They sell them in packs. You can get them online or you can get them at a hobby store. I'm going to take this part here and we're going to slip it underneath those loops that make the braid. So the last stitch we just made, stick it under both the front and the back loops. And you want to make sure that you're not piercing the yarn. So if I pull this up and you see a nice clear hole, that means you did it right, and you can close this off and we can start the next round. Okay. Gather up some feeder yarn. You can hold the excess piece off to the side. What you want to do first is count back the number of stitches required for round 1. And we're going to stick our hook into that last stitch. So start counting from the stitch marker or your hook. And then you want to put your hook into that last stitch. Okay. Then we're going to start our round 2. So round 2 is introducing a new stitch, and this one is called an increasing stitch. So an increasing stitch basically is doing 2 single crochet stitches in the one stitch that we have our hook in right now. So let's do 1 single crochet stitch. Okay. Then we're going to stick our hook back into that same stitch we used. All right. And then we're going to do 1 more single crochet stitch. Okay, so this might be hard to see, but out of that 1 stitch, we have 2 single crochet stitches. So let's move on to the next one. Put your hook into the next stitch, and again, we're going to do 2 single crochet stitches in here. Let's go ahead and do 1. And then we're going to stick our hook into that same stitch, and we're going to do another single crochet stitch. So now if you look, we have that 1 stitch here, and out comes 2 single crochet stitches. Let's do this one more time with you guys. So stick your hook into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Stick your hook into that same stitch. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. So now you should have, we did 3 of them, you should have 6 single crochet stitches. Now that I've repeated this 3 times, you can go ahead and repeat this part of the video until you're confident enough to doing increasing stitches on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of this round, and then we're going to pop in and do round 3. So let me just get some yarn here. Now I'm going to remove the marker and place it under the last stitch we made, and we're going to move on to round 3. So for round 3 we have a set of parentheses and an asterisk, a number, and it says times. At the end of the round, we have another set of parentheses that we saw in the previous rounds. That's basically the stitch count that you're going to end up with at the end of each round. So you can use that number against what you did to make sure that you have the same count. Alright, so let's focus on the first set of parentheses first. What we're going to do is single crochet stitches and increasing stitches. We're going to repeat this parenthesis the number of times it tells us to. So, I'll do the instructions inside the parentheses, okay, and then once I do that, again, it's always good to get these stitch markers because I can leave this one here if I wanted to just keep track of how many times I repeat the parenthesis. I can stick this at the end of the parenthesis, and then every time I repeat it, I can put another one, just in case if I lose count or whatever. I have like obviously a stitch marker to take the place of the last set so that I, again, never get lost. But definitely at least have one for each round. So I'm just going to repeat this now the number of times that the instructions tell you to, and then we're going to come back in for the next round of instructions and see what it's having us do. Yeah. I'm going to do this over. So just continue where I left off. Alright, remove your stitch marker, put it under the last stitch we made, and then we're going to go do round 4. So round 4 is the same concept. We're going to focus on the parenthesis and repeat it the number of times it tells you to. But after the round, we're going to switch to white. So when you get to that last parenthesis, do not do the increasing stitch. I'm going to show you how to transition smoothly to the white. So do everything except for the last stitch. And do the last stitch we made. Oh, nope. Okay, so hopefully you guys didn't do what I did and you didn't do the last increasing stitch. I didn't do it, see? It's like it never happened. Alright. So we have our last increasing stitch to do. What we're going to do is do the first single crochet stitch. Okay. Now we have to do a second one, but before we do that, I'm going to pull this hook really out there. We're going to make a big loop so that we don't lose the stitch. We can set this aside because we're going to pick up the white and we're going to cast on with a slip knot. So take your ring, pinky, and thumb and hold one end. Take your index and middle finger and hold the other. We're going to grab our hook, lie it perpendicular to the yarn. We're going to go down, out, and around to create this loop around our hook. You can slide your hook up and down the yarn. We're going to slide it down towards our thumb, and where it crosses, take the middle finger and just hold it right there so we can let go of our left hand. Then we're going to gather up some feeder yarn. We're going to repinch that end as low as we possibly can go without losing it. And then we're going to lower our hook closer to our thumb, and where it crosses, we're going to pinch it so that we can no longer slide our hook up or down. Then we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull the strand through the loop like that. Then we're going to overhand the hook. We're going to repinch the end, and then we're going to push this knot towards our thumb. So let's do that now. Once we get to a point where you can't push the knot anymore, we're going to take our thumb and middle finger and just pull out this excess piece a little bit more to tighten up that knot. Then I'm going to take the knot and we're going to slide it up close towards the hook. We're going to leave some space here so that we can slide the loop off our hook. And then we're going to pick up our project again. We're going to slip the hook back into that large loop and tighten it up by pulling on the feeder yarn. Alright, so now we're going to start the second single crochet stitch of our increasing stitch using the red. So stick your hook into that same stitch with the stitch marker. We're going to yarn over, you're going to pull up a loop so you have 2 loops. We're going to take the feeder yarn and we're going to hold it back with our ring finger and pinky. Then I'm going to grab the white, we're going to slip this onto the hook, gather up some feeder yarn, and then we're going to pull this white through the 2 loops. So now we have our transition to white. Let me just look ahead to see if we go back to red, and yes, we do. So we're going to leave this here. So now we're going to just take our stitch marker and replace it under the last stitch we made. Okay. And then we're going to move on to round 5. So for round 5, we're using BLO, which stands for back loop only. And the back loop is these loops right here. So as I was explaining how the single crochet stitch looks, we have these loops here that are the front loops, and then we have these stitches here, these loops here that are the back loops. So we're just going to be using the back loops only for this. So for round 5, all we're doing is single crochet stitches, just back loop only. So take your hook and split the braid. We're going to slip our hook into that back loop only. Okay, so we have a loop here for the front loop that's untouched, and then we have our hook just into the back loop. And then you're going to continue your single crochet stitch like you normally would. And then we're going to do another one. So stick your hook into the middle of the braid, and we're just going to stick our hook through the back loop only. Then we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop. Then we're going to yarn over again and pull through 2 loops. So one more time with you guys. Stick your hook into the next stitch, split that braid, slip the hook into the back loop only. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So if we look at this now, we can kind of see this light row of front loops only that haven't been used. So now that we've done this 3 times, we're going to you can repeat this part of the video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing back loops only on your own. But I'm going to go finish this round. Again, we're going to stop at the last stitch, if I remember, because we have to transition back to red. So let me just get this done. Okay, so this is the last stitch. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with the white. So stick your hook into the back loop of the last stitch and start your single crochet stitch. So yarn over, pull up a loop so that we have 2 loops. We're going to take our ring and pinky and hold that white aside and then grab your red again, and we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. I am going to put my stitch marker under the last stitch we made, and we won't be going back into white, so I'm gonna go and cut this. We're gonna need about 1 inch or so just to tie a knot, so let's do that. And I'm just gonna tie this twice around the red. You don't have to tie it tightly, you just want to make sure that that white is secure so you don't lose any stitches. And you can leave the excess in the back. And then we're going to do our round 6, and we have another round of instructions using the back loop only. So what I'm going to do is, in silence, I'm going to do round 6 and round 7, because round 7 just has you doing single crochet stitches using both front and back loops. So there's nothing really different or special about that round. But I'm going to come back in. I need to get yarn here, and this is where the tangling begins, I guess. And we are going to do round 8 together, because we're going to be introducing a new stitch called the decreasing stitch. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Alright. So let me just gather this up, and then I'm going to do the rest in silence. Oh, also, you're seeing that this is curling in. At some point, I'm just going to flip this inside out, because this right here is the wrong side. It has all the excess pieces just sticking out here. It's going to hide it. Plus, it's prettier on this side. Okay. right, so I didn't flip it yet. I'll flip it now. Just need to push this inside out so that the right side is facing out and the wrong side is facing in, and you can tuck all those excess pieces inside. But let's do round 8. So we're introducing a decreasing stitch. What we have here is a set of parentheses like we have been having before. So let's go ahead and do our single crochet stitches first, and then when we come in, I'm going to show you how to do the decreasing stitch. And basically the decreasing stitch is pretty much the opposite of an increasing stitch. We're going to take 2 stitches and turn them into 1. So put your hook into the next stitch. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Then we're going to go into the next stitch, put in your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So now we have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So we just took 2 single crochet stitches and we made 1 stitch. Alright. So now we're going to repeat the parentheses. So the next 2 times I get to a decreasing stitch. I'm just going to show you how to do that, and then we can just go about the round like we normally would. So again, for the decreasing stitch, put your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through all 3 loops. So if you can see, 2 single crochet stitches turned into 1. Alright, so let's repeat our parenthesis again, and I'm going to show you how to do the decreasing stitch one more time. So into the next stitch, put in your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Into the next stitch, put in your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Alright, so let's I'm going to repeat the parentheses the remaining times that I need to, and then round 9 is actually the same, so we're going to come in and fasten off. Okay. So actually I'll do the next 2 rows here in silence. All right, so I completed round 9, and we have to do a slip stitch actually, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to stick our hook into the next stitch. All right, we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through all the loops off your hook like that. This is the body? Doesn't it look mad tiny? Anyway, all right. So we have to leave a long tail for sewing, and what I like to do is leave the perimeter. I like to wrap the feeder yarn twice around the perimeter of the opening. That way that kind of measures off how much I think I would need to sew the pieces together. Okay. Then you're going to pick up your project. We're going to yarn over with that feeder yarn, and we're going to pull through the loop but all the way out, and then tighten it up to make a knot, and then we can remove this stitch marker, and we're pretty much done with this. I'm just going to go ahead here and use some of the stuffing to put into this. Now I'm kind of actually tempted. You know what? Let's not stuff it right now. Let's leave it empty. You know why? Because we are now going to do the arms and the legs, and we have to sew it to the body. So might as well do that all now and then sew it to the body while we can still get in here and hide our stitches, and then we'll stuff it. Okay? Alright, so let's just set this aside. We're going to grab the white to do the arms. There's 2, obviously, for the arms and legs. The second pair I'm going to do off camera. We'll come back in and I'm going to have all of them done. Okay, so let's do a magic ring again, but we're going to do it in white. Take your yarn and wrap it 3 times around your finger with a little overage. You can put your middle finger on it. You can take this time to straighten out your strands, make sure that they are loose or tight enough. Okay, we're going to stick our crochet hook underneath the 3 strands. I'm going to take this strand and pull it underneath these 2. So hook that strand, twist your hook sideways, and then slip it underneath the 2 strands here. Then we're going to yarn over, and we're going to pull the strand through the loop. And now you can remove your middle finger, and you can remove your rings off your index. Again, the excess piece stays on the right, rings stay in the middle, and feeder yarn stays on the left. Alright, so let me just get some yarn here. We're going to do our first single crochet stitches for the arms. This is such a pain. Okay. Gather up some yarn here. So the thing with this is I'm going to stop at the very last, I'm not going to do the last single crochet stitch because we're right away switching to red. So let's do our single crochet stitches. Okay, I got all this white for nothing. All right, pull out a huge loop like we did before, set it aside, get your red yarn here, and we're going to cast on with a slip knot. So ring pinky and thumb, index and middle finger. Take your hook perpendicular to the yarn. We're going to go down, out, and around to create this loop. You can slide your hook up and down, slide it down towards your thumb. We're going to hold our finger right here and let go of our left. Then I'm going to gather up some feeder yarn, re-pinch the end as low as I can go, And then slide the hook towards the thumb, and where it crosses, just pinch it so that you can no longer move your hook up and down. We're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through the loop, and I'm going to overhand my hook, repinch the end, and then we're going to tighten up this knot. And then once we get to a point where we can't push it anymore, we're going to take our middle finger and thumb and pull this. Did I already say that? Not sure. But anyway, we're going to move the knot up towards our hook. We're going to leave some space because we're going to remove this off our hook. Pick up our project again, stick our loop of our crochet hook back into that huge loop and tighten it up with the feeder yarn. And then we're going to start that last single crochet stitch. So stick your hook into the rings, yarn over and pull up a loop so you have 2 loops. I'm going to hold back the white with my ring and pinky. I'm going to pick up the red and slip it on the hook. And then I'm going to pull the red through those 2 loops. Okay, so from here, we're not going to go back to white. So what I'm gonna do is cut about 1 inch or so. Let me tighten up this loop first, because you know what? I have excess piece that we know we're gonna have. We can tie it around here, so at least it's not gonna bunch up our red. So hold this red aside for now. Let's focus on gripping these stitches here. Don't hold it too tightly. This is pretty gentle what I have here. Okay. Then we're going to pull on this excess piece to see which one of these 2 loops is going to go in. And once we've identified which loop goes in, stop pulling. We're going to pull the bottom part out of that loop. So take the loop that went in, pull the bottom part out. You're going to see the other loop go in. And keep pulling till that loop is entirely gone into that magic ring. And then pull on the excess piece till the other loop is gone into that magic ring. To make sure that we got all the slack in there out, we're going to pull in the opposite direction and up. You're going to feel it budge just a little bit more. And now we can take the opportunity to cut this. We're going to cut about 1 inch or so. Okay. Let's remove this white out of here. And then we're going to tie the white around the excess piece that we ended up getting from the magic ring. And we're just going to tie it twice. You don't have to tie it too tight. You just have to tie it enough to secure it, because you don't want to accidentally pull your project. Okay. Then I'm going to take a stitch marker and put it under the last stitch we made. Just under the braid, under the front and back loops. Like that. Okay. So now gather up some feeder yarn. We're going to do rounds 2 through 4, which is pretty much doing a single crochet stitches. So when we finish the 4th round, we have to sandwich the arm and then do single crochet stitches on both the sides. So we will come back in to do that together, and then I'm going to move on to the legs. All right, so I finished rounds 2 through 4, and now we're back to do the fold. So what that means is we're just going to squish the arm like that. We're going to sandwich it, and we're going to do single crochet stitches across. So I sandwiched it. We're going to go stitch for stitch. So we have a single crochet stitch here. We're going to go into the other side of that, single crochet stitch on the other side. Okay. Then we're going to go into the next stitch, both on this side and the back side. Like that. Do another single crochet stitch. Then we're going to do one more into the next stitch and on the other side and do a single crochet stitch. So basically we just flattened it and made it easier to sew. Okay, so now we have to I'm going to triple the length this time, or maybe a quadruple, because I need to make sure that we have a long enough yarn to even use the sewing needle with. Okay, cut it. Going to yarn over, and we're going to pull through the loop all the way out. Tighten it up. Now I'm just going to see if I can sew this right now. That way you can work on the other arm and sew it on yourself too. Okay. So we're sewing this onto the body. You want to find the front side. So since this is the where we put the stitch markers, let's just assume this is the back side. You can also see because the spiral makes it look like a ledge. So turn it around this way. You can flatten it like this because we want to make this even as well. So look at your photo. I'm even going to try to count the stitches in the photo. It might be a little difficult. Okay, but we're going to try to make it work. So, all right, and then it says to sew right under the neck. So we're going to go in here. Right under it. And we know we have 3 of these single crochet stitches that we just did. So I would just go in and use 3 stitches. Okay, so now that we're also working in the cavity of the body, now you can kind of see we have this. It's so close to the arm. I can just tie this twice around the tail that we're going to use to sew the body to the head. And then tuck in the excess piece. Make sure you tuck in the shorter one. Don't get the tails mixed up. Right, so we have the first one on. When we come back, I'm going to have both the arms and legs, but for now we are just going to move on to the legs. So we're going to need black. Alright, so we're going to do the magic ring one more time, you guys. This is the 3rd time I'm showing you this. And then the other future times, we're just going to do it like normal. But, alright, let's take the black and wrap it around 3 times around the finger. With a little bit of overage, you can put your middle finger on there. Take this opportunity to straighten out your strands, tighten or loosen up as you need it. Take the crochet hook and slip it under 3 strands. We're going to drag this one underneath these 2. So hook it, turn your hook sideways so you can slip it underneath the other 2 strands. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through the loop. And then you're going to let go of the middle finger and slip the rings off the index. Okay, so we're going to have the excess piece on the right, middle loops, or the loops in the middle, and then feeder yarn on the left. Okay, so then we're going to do our single crochet stitches. All right, and then we're gonna hold the stitches down here, feeder yarn off to the side. We're gonna take this excess piece and pull it to see which one of these loops goes in first. And then once we've identified that, we're gonna pull this side out until the other ring is completely gone. Right, then we're going to take the excess piece and pull on this so that the other ring can disappear. And then we're going to pull in the opposite direction, a little up, to get that little bit more out of there. And then we're going to mark the last stitch we made. And then do round 2. So for round 2, we're doing increasing stitches, and we're going to count back the number of stitches we needed for round 1, starting from the stitch marker or the hook, and then we're going to stick our hook into that last stitch so that we can start those increasing stitches. And we are working with the darker color now, so it's going to be a little bit hard for you to see what I'm doing anyway. But, you know, you can just focus on your project. We pretty much did something similar with the other body parts, so you should be able to get the hang of doing this. If not, you can rewind to the lighter colors so you can at least see what I'm doing. Okay, then replace the stitch marker. And then we're going to do round 3, and we're basically going to be doing single crochet stitches. Right, then I'm going to replace the marker. And then for the last round, we are doing some decreasing stitches. So I'm just going to flip this inside out because it's already starting to curl in. And then we're going to tuck in this excess piece and try not to crochet into it. You want this all the way down there and out of the way. Okay, so let's do that now. pretty much finished the last of this. So remove the stitch marker. And it said to not stuff. We're going to fasten this off. So let's do the last slip stitch. So stick your hook into the next stitch. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops off the hook. And then now we're going to fasten off. Just make sure you have double the perimeter very generously so that we can have enough to sew. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull that through the loop. It's crazy they don't want you to stuff it. Are you sure? Let me see. I guess so. Alright, so let me just, we're going to sew this foot onto the body now. So thread up your needle. We're going to take a look at the body. We're going to squash this down here. Right. And it looks like they have it sewn just under the belt line. So just want to make sure I find that middle. Okay, once we've gone all the way back around, we can stick our needle into the body. And I'm going to see what's around in there. Maybe there's something to tie to. Right. Here we are. We have the excess piece from the magic ring. So I'm just going to tie it twice around that. Not too tightly, just enough to secure the leg. In fact, I might do this 3 times. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do the other leg, the other arm, and then we're going to come back in. I'll show you that. I'm going to see where we are with time and how much of the hat and pom-pom and belt we have left to do for this video. All right, so I did the arms, I did the legs. We're now going to take some stuffing piece by piece and we're going to stuff it. Doing piece by piece is going to make it easier for you to shape. So I recommend doing that. If you put it all in one clump, it's going to be harder to kind of manipulate in case there's any bulges or dips in the shaping. And also you're able to see what you're doing bit by bit. So if you need to add a little bit in the front, you can add a little bit in the front, a little bit in the side, back, whatever. This is a great way to kind of control that. So after I do this part here, I'm just going to sew the head onto the body. And you know what? I'm feeling like we have two tails. We have one for the head and one for the body. I feel like I'm going to use the tail of the head just because the color's not going to bleed into, like, red into the face is going to look weird. I think if we bleed the blue into the body, it'll look like neck, at least, you know what I mean? So I'm just going to take this red and we're just going to stuff this inside the body. I'm going to take the light blue and now we're just going to sew this around. So let me just check some stitch counts here to see if the head is matching the stitch of the body, and it is. So we're gonna go stitch for stitch. You just have to place this right and make sure you line up your stitches. What I will recommend doing, again, stitch markers, definitely really good things to have. That way you can control the location of your head here. You can make sure that it's facing the right direction, as I did with the with Max's body from the Grinch kits. I definitely didn't put his head on right, so he kind of looked a little like he's facing the wrong direction from his body, and I definitely don't want to do that again. So 4. Alright, so first stitch is going to be in this stitch marker and stitch marker on the head. Then we're just going to go stitch for stitch all the way around the head, and then we're going to tie it together. Okay, and then once we're back around, we can find a spot to tie our knot. Then stick your needle randomly in one side and randomly out the other. Oh, I'll have to do this again. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut this flush to the surface, and then we're just going to squeeze this to hide that part. Remove your stitch markers. Okay, so we have Santa stitch coming along, and I think the head is facing a little this way. Whatever. I guess I should have made the middle the way that I made the middle and the legs and the arms. One of these days I'll get this right. But anyway, so we're going to move on to the next pieces. We're going to be doing the hat. Okay, and we're going to be starting with the red. So let's put aside these things here. Okay, and let's work with the red. So now for this, we've got to do the magic ring. We've done this a number of times now to where you can do this on your own. I'm just trying to get some yarn here that's not tangled. Okay, and then let's do our magic ring. And then we have to do our single crochet stitches. Right? And close this up. And then for round 2, we have a set of parentheses, and we're going to be doing single crochet stitches and increasing stitches. So we're going to count back from our stitch marker, put our hook into that last stitch required for round 1, and then we're going to do our parenthesis. And repeat it the number of times it tells us to. Okay. Now we're gonna do round 3, and that's pretty much just single crochet stitches. Okay. So next we're going to do round 4, which is a set of parentheses. Again, doing single crochet stitches and increasing stitches, repeating it the number of times it tells us to. Okay, replace the stitch marker, and this is bending inward pretty bad, so I am just going to flip this inside out, and we're going to tuck in this piece here. All right, and then we're going to work on round 5, which is a bunch of single crochet stitches. So let's do that. Right, then for round 6 we have another parenthesis. We're going to be doing single crochet stitches and increasing stitches, repeated the number of times, so let's do that now. Right, so then we're going to move on to round 7, and we have single crochet stitches. So let's actually go talk about the remaining. There's a lot of rounds in this, and they're pretty much similar, I'm finding. So this is for round 7. We're doing single crochet stitches. We have 8, 9, 10, and 11 that are a set of parentheses, both single crochet stitches and increasing stitches. And then we have rounds 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 with parentheses, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 that are single crochet stitches. So I'm going to work all of these markers because it's fairly the same. But what I'm going to do is at the end of round 7, I'm going to stop before the last single crochet stitch because we're going to be switching to white. All right, so I completed the last round, 17, but I still have one more single crochet stitch to do. So I'm going to pull this out. We're going to transition to white. We've done this before. Let's cast on with the slip knot. Okay. And we're not going to switch back to red, so we are going to cut this off after we transition. So put your hook back in here, tighten it up. We're going to start the single crochet stitch with the red, and then we're going to slip this on. And pull through both loops. That. And take our stitch marker right here. Then we're going to cut about an inch or so with the red. And then we're going to tie this twice around the white. Okay, then for round 18, we're going to be doing single crochet stitches and then a slip stitch. Right, remove the stitch marker. And I don't know if this is going to matter. We might just end up removing this, but we're going to do our slip stitch. So into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through all the loops. So now we have to chain 2. I guess we'll remove this because, yeah, I don't think it helps us any with the next round. So for round 19, we chain 2 and we're going to turn our project. Okay. So now what we're going to do, using back loops only, we're going to be doing half double crochet stitches. So this is now the front loop and this is the back loop. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a half double crochet stitch. It's one of my favorite stitches. Don't know why, I just do. It's like big enough and bulky enough to make you know, just a thicker and stronger project. So maybe that's why. But anyway, so yarn over, using back loops only. So right here, again, like we did this before, split the braid, and we're going to put our hook into the back loop only and leave the front alone. And then we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over again, and you're going to pull through all 3 loops. So we have our first half double crochet stitch. So let's do this again. Yarn over, stick your hook into the back loop only, split that braid. The front loop is left alone. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop. So you have 3 loops, and now we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Alright, one more time with you guys. Yarn over. We're going to split the braid here. We're going to put our hook into the back loop only. Front loop is left alone. Yarn over, pull up a loop, so we have 3 loops. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So now we have 3 single crochet stitches. I mean, half double crochet stitches. Alright, so I'm going to do the rest of this all the way around. And we'll come back in and do the next steps for this. So rewind this part as many times as you need until you can do the half double crochet stitches on your own. Okay, so I finished that. It just has us fastening off. We have to flip the brim, but you know what? We have this just left open. So what I'm going to do is just do a slip stitch to the top of those 2 chains that we made, just so I can close this off. So yarn over, pull through the loop. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the perimeter twice generously with this yarn here so that we can use it to sew to the head. And then we're going to fasten off, pulling all the way out, tightening this up, and then we're going to flip the brim. Okay, so we've got that. Before I sew this onto head, let's just deal with this pom-pom, because then maybe we can hide the knots in here. I think this looks like a weird hat, to be honest, but I guess it has to fit his bulbous head, so it kind of makes sense. But anyway, let's do the pom-pom. We're going to be using white, so set this aside, grab your white. We're going to be doing a magic ring, so let's do that. And then we have our single crochet stitches to do. Okay, and then we're going to close this up. Get a stitch marker. Then we're going to do round 2, which is increasing stitches. So let's do that now. Count from the stitch marker the number of required stitches for round 1 and stick your hook into that last stitch. Then we're going to do round 2. Okay, change your stitch marker here. Then we're going to do round 3, which is pretty much doing decreasing stitches. This is going to get fairly tight and they want you to stuff, so this is going to be a little crazy. But let's do our decreasing stitches. Okay, remove the stitch marker. And we're going to be closing this, so let us, I'm going to go around the perimeter twice with the yarn, very generously, because it needs to be long enough to maneuver the needle. And we're going to fasten this off, so yarn over, pull through the loop all the way out, tighten it up. I'm just going to flip this inside out because we have the wrong side facing outward. We want the right side facing outward. Tuck this excess piece in, and then I'm going to try to stuff it, but I want to get my needle ready to go. So I'm going to just grab some of this stuffing. Okay, then I'm going to weave in and out of the stitches all the way around. Try to avoid the stuffing. Okay, and once you're all the way around, we're just going to pull on this tail. It's going to close up. Make sure that stuffing is tucked away inside. Okay, and once we're done, I just like to make sure, I don't even know where this hole is anymore, that this hole is completely closed. Okay. And I'm gonna kind of tie a knot but keep the string on. So make a loop, put your needle through the loop, and pull it tight. Okay, and then we're gonna sew this to the top of the hat. I'm going to go in and kind of go across, I guess. Just making a cross, and then when I come back in here again, I'm just going to go inside and try to find my way into the middle of the hat. Okay, and then there should be the excess piece from the magic ring here. I'm just going to use that to tie around. Okay, I knotted it up like 3 times, so that should secure that pom-pom up there. That. Then I'm going to sew this onto the head. Since I'm kind of up here, I want to take my thread. I'm going to go from the back, or maybe if I just go through the red because I want it to stay flipped. Okay, so tuck that in there. Now I'm just going to come back in and we're going to sew using the, you know what? I really like this front loop just chilling here. I don't want to touch that. Maybe I'll just go use, you know, like the stitches inside. So let's do that and let's sew this to the head. So since this is kind of like the back, I can slip this on here. Use your stitch markers. So we want to make sure we have room for the eyes. So we want to push this back like it does in the box, the picture on the box. So let me just see how many rows they have between this line and the hat. Okay. So we're going to go right about here. So you just have to make sure that you just secure everything else around it. I'm just going to remove this marker. Okay, once we're back around, I'm going to find my moment to tie a knot. And I'm going to go back in here, come out a random side, cut it flush. We're going to squeeze this to make that disappear. You can refluff this hat here. Okay, so now we're going to do the belt. We just have one more piece, you guys, and we're going to slap on the eyes. And I'm going to take a look at our our stitch. Alright, so for the belt, setting this aside, we have to cast on with the slip knot. So let's do that now. The more you do these, the faster it's going to get. And you're going to find your own tips and tricks to get these done faster. So you might end up not doing it my way. Okay. Alright, so now we have to make chain stitches, and let's talk about these. I know we just did a couple, but this is just going to be one long chain of chains. Alright, so we're just yarning over and pulling through the loop, and that's all that is. This is a great way to practice making these all uniform, making them all the same size. So you can do that. And if you don't like them, you could always unravel it and start over. Once you have everything knitted here, we're just going to make sure that the counts are right. Okay. Then we have to sew this, so I'm gonna like kind of make it double the length. Cut this off. And then we're gonna fasten this off. So yarn over, pull through the loop all the way out, then tighten this up. And now we just have to sew this belt onto the belly all the way around, so that shouldn't be too difficult. Let's start in the back so that we can kind of blend this whole situation here. I'm just going to try to sew these two together like that. Alright, so I'm just going to go along now. Let's see how they have it. They have it sewn above the white part here. Makes sense. So just grab your chain, and every so often we're going to sew it around a stitch. And in fact, we can probably like try to weave this in and out of the stitches here. And try not to sew through the stuffing because it's going to pull out like it did with mine, and it gets really messy to kind of try to put that back in. And then you might find that you'll have some length left over. We're just going to try hiding it in the back. Okay, and once I've sewn that all together, I'm just going to find my moment to tie a knot. Then go on one side and randomly out the other. Cut it flush. And then you can just squeeze this to make it disappear. And then we have our eyes left, you guys, and then that's it. So grab your eyes. Just going to see how they have this. Okay, something like that. Okay, push down on it, hold it down for a few seconds, making sure the adhesive sticks to as much surface as possible so that the eyes stay. What you could do is take some embroidery floss or some thread and sew right around the border of the eyes, but I'm just going to leave this on here like this. Let's do the other one. And you want to get it into the right position as well. The same amount of space. Okay. Push both eyes in. A little morbid, but trying to get the whole thing to stick. And we're pretty much done here. Comment below, let me know how it went. That's always nice to see a project done. So I'm really happy that this one is done. I have been simultaneously doing the Nightmare Before Christmas characters, so I'll be heading back to that. But after we're done with the Christmas things, I am going to go back to the itty bitty knit kits. And then I've got some Annies that I need to do as well that I kind of stopped a while back that I really shouldn't have. But anyway, this is how much material I have left. And here's the stuffing as well. So I'm just going to be putting all this stuff back into a little box in case I ever want to do this again. These are very fun to do and keep in case. So like I said, every time you get a project, always keep everything. You never know if you're going to need it again. But here is my Santa stitch, you guys. So cute. Alright, so again, comment below, let me know what you think. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. This is Hooked on Needles and Crafts. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos. And I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.